Hey everyone, welcome to your ski training program. This is the first of 3 videos that I'm going to be doing with you. These videos are to help you feel better, move better, perform better, and prevent injuries out there on the slopes to have an awesome ski season. So this first video is going to be focused primarily on strength and mobility. First, let's talk about the difference between flexibility and mobility. Flexibility is your muscle's ability to tolerate a stretch. Mobility is your body's ability to move through that range of motion. So with mobility versus flexibility, you're targeting more so the strength and stability throughout that range of motion. With skiing, it's really important that we have mobility in our hips, our knees, and our backs to be able to ski, especially if you're a more advanced skier and you're really looking to increase that angle where you go through that lateral plane, change in directions as you go down the slopes. So I'm going to be targeting more so dynamic mobility in these videos, and that's because I want to get your muscles firing and activated to be able to tolerate those positions and those movements so that when you're out there on the slopes, you have the stability while you're moving. Okay, so for the first mobility drill, what we're going to be doing is you're going to have your legs 90 degrees here, arms are going to be simply behind you, and then you're going to drop your knees side to side. This is targeting your hip internal and external rotation. Now, we're going to step this up. When you drop your knees to one side, bring your chest forward, and then prop up onto your knees, squeezing through your glutes. Come back down, slow and controlled, shift over, and again, come up onto your knees, and back down. Now, bringing your hands out in front of you throughout this motion is going to just make your mobility a little bit more difficult since you have to now engage your core a bit more. So this is a step up. Okay, stand on up for the second and third mobility exercises for this first video sequence. So you're going to have your feet wider than shoulder width apart. Come into whatever lateral lunge feels good for you. What that means is sending your hips and your bottom backwards, really leaning into that stretch. You should feel a good stretch in through your adductors. If it's comfortable, come all the way to the ground. You can even rotate your top leg up, hand on the ground, and rotate through your spine. If you don't quite have this motion, that's okay. Just come to whatever motion you have available and rotate. You're going to do 10 to each side. Whether you're coming into this lateral lunge where you're just holding it, or you're coming down into that full Cossack squat. And for the third one, we're doing a lunge sequence. Do that pelvic tilt. Again, thoracic rotation to both sides. Lean back. Hamstring stretch, dropping your chest to your knee, trying not to bend through your knee and trying not to bend through your back like this. So keeping your trunk upright and hinging through your hips to really get a strong stretch through your hamstring and not so much of a strain in your back. Then come back to that starting position and step together. And then we'll just repeat on the other side, doing that pelvic tilt, coming down for a twist to both sides. Hamstring stretch, and back together. All right, so we got our 3 mobility drills in. Now we're going to jump right into the strengthening. Some of the most important things that we want to target are going to be your hip stability, which is going to include that glute med training, but also your back and core support, okay? So first exercise, we'll jump right in. It's going to be a standing clamshell. So standing on one leg, you're going to hinge, meaning bring your trunk forward just about 30 degrees. Think about starting with your knees aligned and your foot behind you, and then you're just opening up your knee to the outside, keeping your foot in the same place, okay? So we're gonna do a standing clamshell here. I really want you to focus on going through that whole range of motion. It's actually really tough. I'll show you from the side. Again, your knees are in the same starting position, trunk about 30 degrees forward, keeping your trunk neutral, meaning that you're basically keeping yourself upright, just shifted forward. So none of this, no caving forward. Keep everything engaged and activated. Foot behind you, and open up to the side and come back down. Let's say this becomes easy and you're looking for a challenge. Grab your band. You're going to place it right above your knees. And same exercise, but now we're just going to do it with resistance. And just opening and closing. Keep the band on for your next exercise. If you're just starting out, keep it around your knees, but if you're looking for more of a challenge and your hips are feeling strong today, lower it down. The lower you go down, the harder it is, okay? And we're gonna do some band walks, meaning just stepping out to the side against that resistance, keeping the resistance the whole time. Just stepping out and going both directions. With this one, you want to make sure your toes are pointed forward, hips are forward. I don't want to see any of this with your legs coming out to the side. That's compensating and using different muscles. We want to really keep it to our lateral hip stabilizers. Okay, bring that band up and around your knees for the third exercise here. We're going to be doing an overhead squat to a good morning. So let's break this down. Doing a squat without your hands up overhead, one, it doesn't engage as much core stability as we want. It's also a lot harder mobility wise with your hands up overhead, whether they're here or here. So try the difference. Doing a squat like this is a lot more challenging than like this. It makes your back have to move more. Your thoracic spine is involved because you have to come into a little bit of extension, and it's just more challenging core stability wise. The overhead squat, pushing out against the band, making sure that your knees don't come in. With a good morning here, you're basically sending your hips back. You want a little bit of lumbar lordosis. Basically, here's your posterior pelvic tilt that we did with that hip flexor stretch in the lunge. You're gonna be doing an anterior pelvic tilt to send your hips and your bottom backwards as you keep your trunk upright. This is also targeting your hamstring and glute strength and that dynamic mobility that we talked about earlier. So again, we're gonna put it all together. We have our squat to the good morning. And we'll do this 2 sets of 10. Now we have our curtsy squat. One leg forward, back leg not too far out to the side, just slightly, keeping your hips and trunk still forward as well as your knee right over your toes here. And then you're just coming straight down. Think about just dropping your body straight down and back up. And we're gonna do both sides. So again, coming here, let's go 20 on each side. If you're feeling crazy and you're at the gym, add a kettlebell or a weight here just to increase the challenge. Last exercise, so exercise number 5 for this first video series, we're adding a little bit of a power component, still keeping it pretty gentle. You're going to start facing one direction. You're going to be jumping 90 degrees, just jumping there and landing on one leg. Start with 2 feet, land on 1 foot. And then step back. With the landing, you want to make sure that you're trying to stick the landing, okay? You want to avoid as much wobble as possible and really engage your muscles to try to stick the landing. You can obviously make this as challenging as you want, jumping even further, making it more explosive, or adding a resistance band around your waist to really target that power training. But we'll go over that in the next couple videos.
Awesome job. Be sure to check the next one for phase 2.